But California faces some of the largest fires in state history. Tens of thousands of people are under mass evacuation orders, including in and around the San Francisco Bay Area. The fires were started by thousands of lightning strikes over 3 days. Well, satellite images show thick white smoke covering a wide area across Sonoma County, adding to health risks in the face of the coronavirus pandemic. Further south, fires forced the University of California at Santa Cruz to call for people to evacuate from campuses. Hundreds of fires are burning following a series of lightning strikes and a record heat wave across the state. The biggest fires have already burnt across more than 243,000 hectares, destroying hundreds of buildings. At least 6 people have died. Now, closer to home, the Mauritian government says it will claim compensation from the insurance company of the MV Wakashio, a Japanese-owned bulk carrier that struck a coral reef off the coast late last month. Hundreds of tons of oil were spilled into one of the world's most pristine marine environments. The captain and first mate have been arrested. The MV Wakashio was carrying some 4,000 tons of fuel at the time of the incident. The front part of the vessel has now sunken into the sea, with the broken section expected to reach the bottom in the next 24 hours or so. The stern of the ship, which weighs up to 8,000 tons, is still stuck among the coral reefs. The Mauritian government has decided to designate a company to demolish the remaining section before November the 1st. In the meantime, the 30 cubic meters of oil that remain in the stricken section were expected to be pumped out by today so as to avoid further catastrophe. Well, on Thursday, it had started to scuttle the Japanese-owned bulk carrier, but environmental group Greenpeace said that action would lead to more pollution. Bukelwa Nzimande is a climate and energy campaigner for Greenpeace Africa. She joins us now. Ms. Nzimande, thank you very much. So scuttling first, that means the sinking of the ship, and why are you against it?
Yeah, so you mentioned the devastation that's already occurred. That goes without saying, whether we understand the impacts now on the ecosystems, the biodiversity, and its impacts on local people in Mauritius dependent on tourism. One of the key things is that the disaster or the damage has been done, and the sinking of the ship basically puts the island and its people and further the ecosystems in this environment in further risk. Not enough of an assessment was done. It wasn't thorough enough to fully understand what the impacts are now and what those impacts are going to be in the long term. So they basically went with the cheapest and the easiest option at this point without considering the general good of the people or of the space.
And as far as you know, has it been scuttled? Has it been sunk? Is it too late now? I mean, we're reporting that one section is on its way to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, the mere fact that it was already moved to a particular location and there was a decision that was even backed by government at this point shows that there is certainty in that decision. However, the basis of that decision cannot be supported, no matter how far you look at it. It's basically to benefit the company and to ensure that they basically incur the least amount of costs at this specific time.
Yeah, but Mauritian authorities are involved here. Surely they care about their environment. What were the better options?
Absolutely. You would expect that governments would always act in good faith for their people, particularly linking it back again to just the dependency of the people of Mauritius to this beautiful environment. However, it points to a more systemic issue, really around accountability of governments to ensure that whatever decisions that they make are for the people. But secondly, the lack of corporate accountability and polluters actually just being able to do as they please without proper consultation, without drawing in the necessary expertise that would be required to find the best solution.
So there's also the issue of the oil spill. I'm sure you're concerned about that. Do you know how the cleanup efforts went, that the pumping was happening today?
So at this point, what we are aware of, and this is coming through different sources of media and partner organizations that are on the ground, is that there is a filtration process that is taking place. It's going to be an ongoing process. The cleanup is not something that is just like cleaning up spilt milk. It's oil that is going to be found even in fish species in the coast for years to come. So the cleanups are underway. Communities are putting their lives and their health on the line to ensure that something is done. And at this point, it's really disappointing that the authorities, the governments, and the companies are not doing the best that they could possibly do to support and meet the efforts that the people are doing.
I'm just flabbergasted that the Mauritian government wouldn't do the best because tourism is so important. This is part of the reef, it's part of the coastline, and they're saying that they want to get recourse. Will you support them in that, trying to go to the insurers of this Japanese ship?
At this point, our stance is on pressuring the various governments that are involved. So it is putting pressure on the Mauritian government because a lot can still be done if things are done right and there's accountability. And frankly speaking, this process hasn't involved that till this very point in terms of taking people along and ensuring that it's people and nature's best interests at heart. There are also different international states and governments that have come into the space, like the French government has also come in to weigh in on these decisions. So at this point, it's really just saying leaders show up for the people, and we are going to continue to put pressure and call for accountability, specifically to understand the impact, but also what are the options that are available without saving the company.
All right, thank you very much. We'll follow what happens in Mauritius. That was Bukelwa Nzimande, climate and energy campaigner for Greenpeace Africa. Now, Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara has officially been nominated to stand for a third term. Protests broke out earlier this month after Ouattara announced that he would run for re-election on October the 31st. Several people were killed, more than 100 wounded in the unrest. Opponents said the move violates a constitutional two-term limit. Ouattara's first election, when in 2010, sparked a brief civil war. The World Health Organization says about 830 women die from pregnancy or childbirth-related complications around the world every day. The African Journal of Primary Healthcare and Family Medicine show that ectopic pregnancies occur in 11 out of every 1,000 reported pregnancies in South Africa. Ectopic means a pregnancy in which the fetus develops outside the uterus, typically in a fallopian tube. Now, recently, the Northwest Province recorded a successful delivery of such a pregnancy, the cause of much celebration.
What is interesting is that this article states that ectopic pregnancies account for 1 to 2% of all conceptions. However, it is alarming that the survival of mother and child during these pregnancies is something that is very scarce.
You can see here the baby inside a uterus. This is a baby facing upwards. Anything that is outside this structure, that is the uterus, is considered an abnormal pregnancy.
The hospital delivered a healthy baby from a pregnancy that was discovered ectopic minutes before the delivery. Shockingly, this baby was growing on the intestines and not inside the womb.
This case is interesting because the baby was for more than 40 weeks out of the womb. Okay. Yes, out of uterus, and he was in the intestine. 25 years of my career, this is the first time I see the baby out of uterus and alive.
This 31-year-old mother was not expecting this, as her antenatal visits in Johannesburg did not show any abnormality.
I was at Joburg attending my clinical there. They didn't see anything, if there was a problem with my pregnancy. And then I decided to come home on the 7th of August. On the 9th, I experienced some pain. I came to the hospital. It's then when they saw that I'm having a complicated pregnancy.
This is recorded as a milestone for a small hospital servicing more than 1,000 households with limited resources.
This is the first case, and actually in a hospital that has recently graduated from being a CHC to a fully fledged hospital, even with limited challenges in terms of their resources and the doctors and the nurses being in limited numbers. However, the case was managed successfully still. In the country, statistics shows that actually this could be maybe the 6th recorded case.
Joyous mood as these doctors are delighted and proud to have made history.
Yes, this is a case that you once get it once, like in a lifetime. So you can have your whole career of medicine without even seeing an advanced full-term abdominal pregnancy.
A successful ectopic full-term pregnancy, a healthy baby girl named Swezo, a Setswana word meaning a decision, as her mother believes this is a heavenly decision. Tebogo Pakedi, SABC News, Christiana in the Northwest.